What is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of the Double Switch podcast. We are heading into late November, but we're not ready to move on from the season quite yet. We have a pretty fun episode planned. We're going to look into this season, some of the higher moments that we've had. Have 10 games here listed that we think were the best games of the season, and we're going to kind of count down. This is going to be part one of the two-part series, and it's going to be fun. A lot of these games bring back pretty good memories, so I'm looking forward to it. How are you doing today, Johnny?
I'm doing great. A long day, but I'm excited to reminisce on the Phils. And just looking at some of these moments before this, it got me excited. So let's get after it.
Yeah, no big news for the Phils besides the Bryce Harper news, which we got a couple days ago. Nothing surprising. Gonna have surgery on the torn UCL. We knew that was happening, or we tended to believe that was going to happen. No timetable for his return, but we'll see how that plays out. It's definitely something to factor into next season. But let's get into this countdown now while we're at it. Starting off, number 10, the number 10 best game of the season, Phillies versus Mets. And this was on August 12th. This was a doozy, Johnny. This was a playoff atmosphere. It was a weekend series up in Queens, and the Mets and Phils both gave it their all for this series. Ranger and Scherzer was the game we're talking about. A real pitcher's duel. Both teams got runs on the board early, but after that, there was not much until the ninth inning. And that's when the Mets threatened, and Matt Beerling came up with one of the signature moments of this season. Gunned a guy out at home plate trying to score the winning run. Sent us to extras, and it ended up being the difference in the game because an inning later, Starlin Marte could not do the same. Bryson Stott beat out a Alec Boehm sac fly to right field, and the Phillies take game one in a huge series. The atmosphere, you couldn't have asked for a better atmosphere up in Queens, and this was a biggie because this was the closest we had come to a playoff type atmosphere this season. What do you remember about this game, Johnny?
You just said it. I remember it being loud. It was loud on the TV all game. We were neck and neck. Scherzer and Ranger both brought their great stuff. I remember Ranger made a couple really great plays with the glove that game. I think people started to really notice how great of a defender he was that game. But I remember that Beerling throw, that dot.
Perfect throw at a perfect time. Ranger actually outdueled Scherzer in that game, if you ask me, because Scherzer kind of got hit around a little bit, gave up 9 hits. Ranger seemed to be in complete control.
3 hits. I think Ranger let up 3 hits.
And that's when the narrative of Big Game Ranger kind of came up, because he went up to that really good New York team and completely shut them down in their home field. It was big. It was big for the Phils to get that first win in that series. Unfortunately, the rest of the series didn't go as well as we thought it would, and that's why this comes in at number 10. Number 9. This is one that only Phillies fans are going to remember. Marlins versus Phils, June 15th. I'm sure that doesn't ring a bell right off the top of your head, but this was the Garrett Stubbs walk-off homer game. Phils got shut out for 9 innings, and bottom of the 9th, JT found his way on. Boehm got a single, runners on when Stubbs came up to bat, and he gave us one of the signature moments of the season. 3-run bomb to right, and this topped off what was just an incredible 2 or 3 weeks in Philadelphia. June 15th, that was 2 weeks after the Girardi firing, give or take. I believe this was a part of our win streak. It was coming at a perfect time when everybody was starting to get a little more excited, and this was just like the cherry on top. Johnny, what do you remember about this game and kind of the vibes in the city after it?
I remember vibes were high going into the series, and I remember Kyle Gibson went 8+ innings. He went into the 9th inning. I don't think he got out in the 9th inning, but it was one Kyle Gibson gem. You gotta love those. And remember, I think it was Pablo Lopez who pitched against us. He had a really good outing.
I don't remember if it was Pablo. I know it was definitely Gibby. So don't fact check us on Pablo. But the Marlins, they pitched a wonderful game, and that was a game where it really would have been deflating to lose. 1-0 game against the Marlins. You really struggled to put runs together. We were able to come out of it with a win, and I mean, my personal feelings after that game were that we can beat anybody. We're in that type of mindset right now where we're never out of it. This team never quits under Rob Thompson, and I was on top of the world after this game.
Yeah, I remember that game specifically. There was no air in the tires for me as a fan. I kind of had lost all hope going into that ninth inning. And then I saw Garrett Stubbs up to bat, and I looked over at my coworker. And I'm like, can the backup catcher win the ball game? And he did. And it was honestly a top moment for us fans because Garrett Stubbs has been a fan favorite since day one. And that was his best moment, his signature moment as a Philly.
It was. And for someone who doesn't have a lot of pop, Garrett Stubbs, it could not have come at a better time. Just an awesome moment for this team, and it's going to definitely be a highlight on the video yearbook next year. But moving on to number 8, this was a biggie, Johnny. This was Phillies versus Houston, October 3rd. Everybody should know right off the top of their head what this was. This was the game where the Phillies clinched their first postseason berth in 11 years. Started with Aaron Nola going 7+ innings of perfect baseball. He did not need much run support, but we got him a couple across, and that was all he needed. Until Yordan Alvarez broke up the perfect game. He was pretty much unhittable, the best I've ever seen him. And then Zach Eflin came in the 9th inning to close out the game, and it was so poetic how it happened with Nola and Eflin kind of bridging us to the postseason. It's a moment that I'll definitely never forget. And just watching this team, how excited they were, celebrating what they've been striving to get to for so long, it's something that we're just never going to forget, is it?
No, that game meant so much to the organization in general because we were at the point, we had our guy who's wanted to be in the playoffs for so long, a guy that everyone ridicules for collapsing in these situations, and he pitched probably the best game of his life. And I remember Nola, and I remember Stott that game because Stott had a nice little home run that game.
It wasn't as easy as you think because we knew we had to get one win, and the pressure was really on because the Brewers had a really easy series. I can't remember who they were up against, but we had to deal with the Astros, and a lot of Phillies fans were kind of wondering when it was going to happen, if we were going to get the win. And it was really nice to come out and get it in game 1 of that series and kind of just not have to worry about it. That's number 8. Moving on to number 7. And this game was the first playoff game back in Philadelphia in 11 years. Braves versus Phillies. NLDS. Bats came out big in this game. Rhys Hoskins' bat spike. It's going to be a moment that we're going to see on Phil's marketing and the MLB marketing for years to come. It's Rhys's signature moment, and it was sick. It was so hyped to watch. Braves had absolutely no answers in this series or in this game. Aaron Nola looked every ounce of the big game pitcher that he was starting to become, and this was all Phil's start to finish. Postseason baseball was back in Philly, and it was magical, and it was perfect. And this game symbolized all of that, didn't it?
It did. It was a great welcome home, and everyone's going to remember that Rhys home run for the rest of their lives. But Bryson Stott, yet again, in a big game, important RBI double to get the scoring going. An incredible game. You couldn't ask for much more in your first home game back in over a decade.
It was a huge game, too, because tied 1-1 in the NLDS. That's a swing game, game 3. That's when the series starts to tilt in one team's favor. And for them to come out against Spencer Strider, who people were worried about, he's a very good pitcher. yeah, we were all worried about him because he hadn't pitched in so long, and we thought we could avoid him. But we got him, and we took advantage of it because he didn't look right. We were attacking him early, and like I said, all Phil's that game. It ended up being 9-1. And, just a great start to our magical postseason run. Moving on to number 6, Phillies Brewers, June 7th, and this is a good one. Phil's found some late inning magic against the best closer in baseball. Josh Hader, what else can you say about the guy? He was so dominant up until that point. Up until Alec Boehm got up to bat in the 9th inning. Tied the game up with a home run. Alec Boehm's not too much of a home run hitter. Josh Hader does not give up too many home runs. But the baseball gods were in our favor that game, and he tied it up 1-1. And a couple batters later, Matt Bierling pinch hitting for Mickey Moniak put us on the board again, giving us the lead against the best closer in baseball. And like I said about the June 15th game, the Subs walk-off, this was the period where Rob Thompson took over and the magic was starting to show. Team never quit. This was a game that was definitely not in our favor going into the ninth against Hader, and the team just didn't give up. And some would say that this is kind of the turning point in our season, a game like this, and it's going to be something. It's just something that this season doesn't happen without this type of a game, you know?
Yeah, they defied odds. I mean, crazy odds. Josh Hader is electric at this point in the season, and two guys that we don't expect to hit home runs on this ball club came up and clubbed the clutchest home runs of their career to that point. I'll never forget that. That'll always be the game we broke Hader for me.
We did break Hader. He was not the same pitcher after that, and it was kind of the turnaround to Alec Boehm's slow start too. It was just a lot of things came together to make that game so special, and it was building upon the win streak we were already on. Just a great bridge game during the season. And with that being said, this is part one of this two-part series. We're going to be coming up here shortly with games 5 through 1. It's crazy to think that all these games that, these games we'll never forget don't even sneak into the top 5. So that kind of goes to show you how good of a season this was when it was at its high points.
It's crazy to me that when I was looking over this list, it's just like how is NLDS Game 3 number 7 on this list? But we have a good top 5, and I think you guys are really going to like it.
With that being said, thank you guys for listening, and you guys will hear from us soon with part 2 of the series. Thank you.
Go Phils.